In 2017, Anthony Scaramucci took an 11-day roller coaster ride as President Donald Trump's White House communications director, and then he was fired. Now, since then, he has never quite been off the media's radar, and now he's making the rounds on TV, promoting the policies of his old boss. But why now? Will he find his way back inside the White House? I'm Frank Uciardo, and you're watching TRT World One-on-One Express. I'd like to get your reaction to the Mueller report that just came out. The president tweeted, "Game over." Is it?
Well, he would like it to be game over. It certainly should be game over, but the problem is that these people will not stop. I really do hope that the president doesn't launch investigations against the investigators, because that'll just be another 3 or 4 months, possibly 6 months, maybe longer, of people not working in Washington.
You're talking about what the country needs, and it seems like you're blaming the Democrats that this is not happening.
It's not me being partisan at all. It's me being a business person and being objective and observant about what I've seen. And also, you have to remember, I got an 11-day PhD on how these people operate. Okay, these are very mean, very nasty people. In the meantime, the American people are not getting their needs served by the people that are in Washington. So that's the beauty of the Trump administration. He is a orange wrecking ball that has hit the barricade in Washington and has disrupted the sclerosis of the establishment.
As the President of the United States picks up the phone and says, "Anthony, come work for me again."
I'm disappointed the way I got fired. I didn't think I needed to get fired like an Austin Powers villain and like shot into the sky and dumped into the fire. But I've stayed loyal to the president, stayed loyal to his agenda. But I think that time for me has come and gone.
Did anything in your career as a businessman prepare you for Washington, D.C.?
No, nothing. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, these are a bunch of animals. So in Washington, you start the meeting, 2 people show up, there's 4 eyeballs in the meeting. I stab out an eyeball, they stab out an eyeball. We start the meeting with 4 eyeballs, we leave the meeting with 2 eyeballs. I've never seen anything like that.
Should the president release his tax returns?
He shouldn't release his tax returns because it'll be a political atomic bomb. I'm sure that he's avoided taxes legally, and I think it's been a very smart political strategy not to release his tax returns. They'll never see those tax returns.
Is the president going to get reelected?
He's going to get reelected because the economy is still quite strong. Our economic forecast is that we will still be in a growth position going into the 2020 reelect. I think the president hurts himself with some of his rhetoric and some of the policy initiatives. The child separation policy initiative is classically un-American. I would avoid that.
Can we get into that a bit? What about the wall?
What I would tell people, hey, you may not like the wall, you may like the wall, but he campaigned on it, and so he's going to push it and likely get it. A country that has a welfare state, which the United States does, you need to protect your border because free market forces dictate that people will pour across the border to participate in your welfare state.
How do you size up the Democrats, which appear to be drawing a circular firing squad again with so many different candidates?
If Joe Biden announces that he's going to run, I predict he gets the nomination. And I think he's a good guy. I like him. I think he's a moderate guy, but I think the president will knock him into left field.
Why is that?
Go take a look at the tapes on Vice President Biden. He has a hard time in that adversarial position. He gives a great speech in front of friendlies, but when he's on stage and he's meeting an adversary, he has a tendency to lock up.
Basically disagreeing with the president, saying, "Mr. President, the press is not the enemy." Tell us about that.
The president's making a very big mistake here. If you read my op-ed, I lay out the foundational principles of why the free press was in the First Amendment. It's in the First Amendment. They made it first for a reason. And so for me, one of the first things I did when I was in the White House, I turned the lights and cameras back on. I've been eviscerated in the press. And yet despite my evisceration, I feel it's very, very necessary for our society to have free press because it holds people in power accountable. And so in my editorial, I write a cautionary piece of advice to my fellow friends in the press. Why don't you knock it off and start reporting the stuff more fairly and do more due diligence and more homework on the stories that you're reporting? The president's contributing to that, so I want him to stop doing that. I want 2 things to happen. I want the president to stop saying fake news and the press is the enemy of the people.
What makes Donald Trump a great candidate to be president again?
He's got amazing political instincts. He gives himself an A+, but he's getting a low B on style because he's really hurting himself. If he would calm it down a little bit, he could get his approval ratings up again where they need to be with suburban white women in order to win re-election.